Hello everyone. So today in this video I want to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic that has resulted in inflation and unemployment issues that has occurred in Japan. So without wasting any time, I would like to continue my discussion. When you talk about the inflation and unemployment issues, we already know that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a severe impact on countries all over the world, and Japan is no exception. With the increasing number of confirmed cases, the Japanese government declared a state of emergency in April and implemented strict public health measures. As economic activity becomes significantly constrained, private consumption for April declined by about 20% from last year. New cases of infection decreased sharply thanks to the public health measure, and the state of emergency was lifted at the end of May. And of course, there are significant uncertainties over the outlook for the economy. The COVID-19 pandemic continues on a global basis, and concern about a second wave of the virus has increased recently. Under these circumstances, there is a risk that the second round effects of COVID-19 may push down the economy considerably. There are two important points in particular. The first is to ensure a corporate financing. To this end, it is essential to maintain financial system stability and accommodative financial conditions, thereby avoiding further downward pressure on the real economy from the financial side. So the second point is whether firms and households' growth expectation will decline and lead to cautious attitudes towards spending. Some sort of hysteresis effects could arise after a large shock, as shown in protected continuous firms' behavior in Japan after the financial crisis in 1990s. So according to a survey conducted in Japan, approximately 82.8% of business enterprise in the rail industry stated that they already experience an impact of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic on their corporate activities, adding to the share of companies which foresaw a possible impact on their business in the near future. Close to 96% of the companies considered that they were somewhat affected by the outbreak of coronavirus. So the unemployment rate in Japan increased in May from a month earlier, as the coronavirus pandemic led to firms laying off staff of business. Still, during the government state of emergency period declared over the pandemic, according to the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communication, Japan's unemployment rate climbed to 2.9% in the occurring period, with the figure coming off the heels of a 2.6% increase launched a month earlier and making the third consecutive that the jobless rate here has increased. The government declaring a state of emergency over the outbreak of the coronavirus in April saw business shut their operation, and the public requested to refrain from making non-essential trips outdoors in a bid to prevent the further spread of the virus. During emergency period through May 25, the job market suffered commensurate with business suspension and projections for restructuring measures needed following companies' heavy losses. And meanwhile, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare also said Tuesday that the job availability ratio in Japan stood at 1.20 in May, dropping from a ratio 1.32 booked in April, making that the steepest month-to-month fall since January 1974. So this is the unemployment rate in Japan, edged up to 2.9% in July 2020 compared to 2.8% that the previous month and market expectation of 3%. It was still the highest jobless rate since May 2017 and is higher than 2.2% in the same month of the previous month. So that's all for today. That is all about the inflation and unemployment issues that has occurred in Japan. So thank you.
Good afternoon to Sir Dr. Abdul Jabbar Abdullah, our beloved lecturer. My name is Muhammad Nur Azizul bin Jahari from BA 118 Q1A. Today I would like to present about the impacts of COVID-19 on inflation and unemployment in Japan. Now, if we talk about the impacts of COVID-19 on inflation and unemployment in Japan, firstly, Japan is the country that always popular with its own advanced technology, and the culture there is such an amazing culture. Okay, everyone know that. And the economy in Japan is very stable and good. Okay, then it all changes when the COVID-19 disease, which is called COVID-19, the name is coronavirus, novel coronavirus. On September 11, 2020, the total number of confirmed cases in Japan is 70,268, and the places with the highest of patients is in Tokyo. Meanwhile, the total number of people dead is 1,330. They always talk about inflation. What is inflation actually? Okay, in my opinion, inflation means the increase in the cost of living as the prices could rise. Meanwhile, based on the books Principles of Economics, the third edition, inflation defined as continuous increase in the general price level of goods and services in economy. Apart from that, unemployment in my point of view is the people that do not have a job. Okay, but in the books Principles of Economics, unemployment is defined as a labor force participant being available and willing to work, but they are unable to find jobs. So today, the country that I want to talk about the inflation and unemployment is Japan. Okay, let's start with the impacts of inflation in Japan. Okay, the first one is the sales tax. Okay, as all we know, Japan is the third biggest economy in the world, but the number two biggest in Asia, after China. China is number one. We all know that. Okay, in October, the core consumer prices in Tokyo, a leading indicator of nationwide inflation, is increased 0.5% from a year earlier, which is a year earlier. Now is 2020. It is 2019. This data shows the clue on how the tax increase, or in other words, that hike that starting on October could affect the price growth nicely, even though every year printing the money by BOJ. BOJ is the Bank of Japan. Okay, the next one is the core consumer prices, fresh foods and consumer price index, CPI. Okay, the core consumer prices broadly stable in July. The core consumer prices index, which exclude the price of fresh food is 0.20% in July over the previous month, accelerating from June, which is 0.10% rise. The CPI remained unchanged in July compared to the same month as the last year. Okay, besides that, let's go through to the impacts of COVID-19 on unemployment in Japan. Okay, the first one, the impacts is people lose their jobs. The worker, the employee lose their jobs. Due to this pandemic, Japan economy also involved with its first recession since 2015. Okay, This world third biggest economy declined 0.9% in the first quarter after it struggled with the decline in COVID-19. More than 1,000 workers may lose their job due to this virus spread. It is because the employer did not have enough money to pay the salary for the employee. So the government need to dismiss their employee to avoid the burden of paying employee salaries. Let's go to the last one, which is unemployment rate increase. The unemployment rate increase in Japan in May from a month earlier due to COVID-19. This pandemic caused this unemployment rate climb to 2.9% in the recording period than the month before, which is in April. It is 2.6%. Okay, since there are a lot of workers that fired due to this pandemic, this caused the unemployment rate surprisingly increase in out of sudden. Thank you for listening. Let's me pass to the Siti Liana Sarai. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad Aziz, for your explanation on the impact of COVID-19 on inflation and unemployment to Japan. So now let us talk about government policy and macroeconomy. There are two types of government policy and macroeconomy, which is monetary and fiscal policy. First of all, what is monetary and fiscal policy? Monetary policy, the demand side of economic policy, refers to the action taken by a nation's central bank to control money supply to achieve macroeconomic goals that promote sustainable economic growth. While fiscal policy is the means by which a government adjusts its spending level and tax rate to monitor and influence the national economy. So, both of these policy are macroeconomic tools used to manage and stimulate the economy. The question is, how does both of these policies help to cope inflation and unemployment in Japan during this pandemic? So I discovered that on October 1st, 2019, Japan consumption tax rate increased from 8% to 10%. The action by Japan government showed that fiscal policy has been applied. This could be proven by change in tax rate, and this raise has been decided as a measure to help reduce national debt because Japan's debt ratio is about 2.5 times its annual economic output. Now let us move to unemployment. Unemployment rate increased from 2.8 to 2.9 from June 2020 to July 2020. So, Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare decided to expand employment adjustment subsidy program and ease its eligible criteria. This program aims to support employers who are suffering from business downturn, but maintain employment by paying leave allowance and letting employees take partly paid leave rather than firing them. Overall, economic slowdown generally lead to lower energy demand, and the fallout from COVID-19 has proven no different. Japan 2020 Olympic dreams are gone. The economy is in recession, and the COVID-19 pandemic has tragically caused nearly thousands of deaths, accounting in the country. It is a big impact to Japan because Olympic could help tourism in that country. This concludes that COVID-19 is not only pandemic and public health crisis. It also severely affected the global economy, financial market, and us as a consumer. That is all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, what we can learn from this assignment, we have learned a lot about the inflation and unemployment issues, impacts of COVID-19 on inflation and unemployment, and last but not least, we have learned about how monetary and fiscal policies can be used to solve the above problem. We choose the country of Japan because Japan was a very beautiful country with its own unique culture and advanced technology than the other country. Moreover, Japan also the third biggest economy in the world, meanwhile the second biggest in Asia. Even though the technology in Japan advanced than the other country, they can stop the virus from spread. Thank you.